See, world, what we can do? We never stop learning. Welcome, everybody, to Reita's World, another segment. We're outside doing everything right, and there's always a little breeze, so it's good. And I have a wonderful guest today, Elle. I called you Ellie, but you called yourself Elle.
Yes, these are my words.
And say your last name again for me.
Sassenrath.
Sathenrath.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, Elle,
Mouthful.
I met Elle a week ago on Labor Day when I had my table out in front and I have all these plants and I was giving plants away. Free plants, everybody. Cactus and flowers, whatever. So you came by and we started chatting. And I said, I don't know what it was, but I was struck with you and your beauty and your demeanor. And I said, I do a podcast. Would you be on it? And you said yes.
Of course.
So you put your name down, and
I did.
I called you, and here we are.
And here we are. It's
Okay.
great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. So you live down the street in Burbank. I live here on the corner since '64.
It's amazing.
Long time.
It's a beautiful neighborhood.
Isn't it beautiful?
Yes.
Yeah, I was the youngest one when I came to this house. I was 28. Now I'm going to be the oldest one in the neighborhood. I think I am,
That's it.
which is good. I've
Amazing.
made it this far.
This is your hood. This
Yeah.
is Reita's world.
Yes. And I just want to show everybody, Ray Bradbury Company, they put this little, whatever you call it, music box, and it said, she believed she could, so she did. Well, I've been saying I'm going to do my own show someday. I want to inspire people to get along and see the good in everybody. And so here it is.
Yeah.
Isn't that cute?
That is great. And you're doing it.
Yeah,
This is
I am.
amazing. It's a
Yeah.
great setup. Thank you, Glenn, for your
Yes,
help.
thank you, Glenn. And later I'm going to give you a mask to take home.
Thank
Reita's
you.
World, yes.
I love it.
And here's my T-shirts that if you would like.
I would love one. These are
okay,
so
now I got to make
fun.
sure we get the medium size for you. Yeah, this would work.
Perfect.
Okay, you get that too.
Thank you.
Okay, Elle.
Thank you so much.
So see, it pays to walk by and say hello to people.
It does.
And
You
that's what I
inspire
want to
me.
ask you about. Tell me about yourself. You're a Californian, but
Damn.
from where? Northern
I'm
California.
from Northern California,
Okay.
about 2.5 hours north of San Francisco, called Ukiah.
Yes,
in,
we've heard
in
of
Mendocino County.
wonderful wine country,
wine
right?
country. Yes, I grew up on a vineyard,
Oh.
but it was actually a personal vineyard. We just, my grandfather actually had the idea to plant it because we
Uh-huh.
had some acreage, and he was like, you guys have the best soil up here. We got to plant some grapes.
Right?
And my parents were like, I don't know, that sounds like a lot of work. We know nothing about making wine. And
Sure.
my grandpa was just like, well, there's only one way to learn.
Right.
And him and my dad and my brothers went out and planted all these vines. And the crazy thing is how much patience it takes.
Which is good. If you can develop patience,
Yeah.
there's nothing you can't accomplish.
Exactly. Because it takes 3 to 4 years before you get any grapes, to
Oh, yes.
produce. You just have to watch them grow.
Right.
And sure enough, we started making wine, and it became like a family and friends community thing,
Right.
where we'd invite anyone over to come pick the grapes
Oh,
and
good.
do the manual labor.
Oh, good.
And then in return, once the wine was ready, you would get a case of wine as a thank you.
Well, how nice.
Exactly.
And tell me, what do? You stomp them?
We actually never had a stomper per se for germ reasons, and we had this big machine, so you would dump the barrels of grapes in and
Okay.
turn the handle, and
Oh.
it would actually separate, it would spit out the stems,
Oh.
and then it would kind of crush the grape and drop it into a barrel.
Oh.
And so then it separated it for you.
That's
and,
good.
It was
Yeah.
a lot more efficient. But it was a lot
Much
of fun.
more.
One year, I missed the picking one year, and apparently the stomper, it broke. And so they
Oh.
did have to go in with their feet and stomp on them. And they said it was a lot of fun. So I guess I missed out on
Oh.
that traditional action.
But at least you heard about it, and you know you could if you
Exactly.
had to do it.
Exactly.
You
I'm not
could.
sure that wine was any good. Just kidding.
That's
But-
cute.
Yeah.
Well, Elle, today or this coming Sunday is September 13th, and I read on the calendar it's National Grandfather's Day. Now, when I say national, I want to say all the grandfathers the world over, every grandfather, I want to take my hat off to you and celebrate because I have some great stories about my grandfather, and then I'm going to ask you to talk about your grandfather. But this story is my grandfather. Now, the picture is not good, it's very dark, but he came from Helsinki, Helsinki, excuse me, Bohemia, which now is Czechoslovakia. But at 18, he came from a family of 9, 7 boys and 2 girls. Can you imagine those days? People had big families, right? Well, he left home at 18 and went to Vienna. He worked and learned carpentry and things in Vienna. And then he wanted to come to America because he was going to be drafted into the army, and he didn't want that. He's Capricorn like you, and he wanted to come to America and build and be in construction. Well, he befriended a nice individual man, a Jewish man, who befriended him and said, "Come on, you'll get on the boat and you'll be my son."
Wow.
So wasn't that a lucky break? Because he was too young to get a passport in those days. So he was like a stowaway, but he had his friend put him on, took him on, and it was my son. So that's how he got, and he landed in Baltimore. But when he was on the ship, he wrote his mother and father a letter and told them about his departure to America. But he did well for himself. He did what do you call homesteaded.
Okay.
In South Dakota area, and that's where I was born. So my great-great-grandfather, Ferdinand Cash, of all names. But
what a brave move to
yes,
to leave everything behind.
Yes, but he did, and then he built Chalk Rock House, Catholic church in Timball, South Dakota, close to Yankton and all that. So it was he just built and built, and he got team of horses, and when they needed lumber for the roof of the church, they went to Nebraska when it was wintertime and there was ice. So, because they didn't have bridges in those days. So he went to Nebraska, got the lumber with the team and the mules and whatever, and brought it back to South Dakota and finished the church.
Wow.
But he had some good stories to tell, and he got married twice in his life, and they brought 13 children into the world. So
kept up with the tradition.
Yeah. But talk about, let's face it, kids. We've got two kids is enough for a family. That's my opinion, of course. But anyway, people have to do what they have to do.
I guess back then there wasn't as many people, so you had to.
Oh yes, back then you're right.
You had to populate a little.
You're right.
Populate the
You're
towns.
absolutely right. Yeah. And the more people you have, they can work on the farms and everything. Yeah. So talk about your grandfather.
Well, I have 2 amazing grandfathers, both who are not with us anymore, but just have left, monumental impact on my life and the life of my family and friends.
Of course.
My dad's father, Charles, he actually was orphaned at a young age. He lost both his parents relatively young, which obviously impacts your entire life. But I think from that, he had this kind of toughness that he had to build, and he was in, the Army, and he did have quite the life. But I just loved how he didn't let that toughness overtake his compassion and his love, and it was never quite tough love. He was a tough guy, but he would, he'd laugh, and he would just bring you in for a close hug and squeeze you to death, and it was just all the love that you could ever want and feel. And sometimes you're like, you're hurting me, but it was just fun. And he was always banging around, and he always had like bruises and cuts, and you'd come over and you'd have like a big gash on his face. Oh, what's that? I don't know. It just happened. And So he was always just like the most
Did he
loving.
build things?
Yeah, I mean, he planted the vineyard with us.
Oh, he's the one. Okay.
He was always doing projects and taking things on and
Great.
taking care of my grandma. And they actually traveled around a lot with his job. And so they lived all over the country actually at one point.
Wow.
Yeah.
All over the United States?
Yeah, mainly in California.
Okay.
Up and down California. But also on the East Coast at some point. So. And then my mother's father,
right.
Samuel Smith, my grandpa Sam, who passed away when I was relatively young, I just remember him just being so joyful and so funny and hilarious and just loving. And he actually was involved with one of the first television stations on like the East Coast, and he helped build that out. And he, even when times were rough, I feel like he was always thinking on his feet and just kind of creating a better path forward for our family and just wanting the best for everyone.
Well, he gave you a lot, both your grandparents, because you have so much love that comes out of you.
Thank you.
And it's the truth. I mean, that's why I said, would you do a podcast with me? I wanted the world to see this beautiful woman whose soul is so good. And you told me you're learning tennis and you met this lady. Tell me about that.
Well, yeah, and I should actually tell her what an impact she had on me, because during quarantine, one of my hobbies has been to start tennis again. And I've been just meeting up with people that I find on Facebook who will want to just casually hit and, learn together.
Right.
And so I met up with this one woman, and we went to this really big tennis park out in Century City area. And we walked up, and she just was saying hello to every single court as we passed by. She's like, oh, there's a tennis instructor that I know, and there's someone else I know, and oh, I've played tennis with these guys. And we were going onto the court as two people were leaving, as you kind of switch out. Once people are done, you wait for a court to be opened. And there was these two older Italian gentlemen, and we were leaving, and I would normally just pass them and put my stuff down and, get in the mindset. And she just strikes up a conversation with them.
Good.
And they all get to laughing. And then she's like, do you guys want to play with us? And like, in my head, I'm like, these guys are very good tennis players.
And you're
like,
just trying to
we are not good tennis players.
I love it.
They were like, yeah, sure. That sounds great.
Good.
And so it was, we each had one of these Italian gentlemen with us, and it was really fun, and it was a great time. And it was just such a moment of inspiration to be out there on the court with three strangers, but having such a lovely evening and getting to laugh and learn and play. And they were giving us pointers. And so I took that from that experience, and it was right before I met you, actually.
Right. And
I was just like, wow, what a difference it makes when you're the first one to open the conversation, And I think that's the key to it all. We're all so in our own minds and in our own worlds. We're like, oh, they don't want to say hi to me, or I don't want, I don't want to bother them, But then as soon as someone makes the first move, I find that the response is often so genuine and like receptive.
Yes.
That it's just like, okay, like it really needs to be on the forefront of my mind. And I hope to inspire others like you did, and it's just being able to talk to anyone who...
Exactly. There is no such a thing as a stranger.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We're all on the same path, and we're in the same place at the same time for a reason.
Yes,
so.
yes.
Yeah.
What a beautiful smile and what a beautiful mind. My mother, I learned to be gregarious because of her. Plus, I'm 3 fire signs: Aries, Sagittarius, rising, moon, and Leo. So I got all this energy, so I might as well put it to use, talk to people, know. But my mother, she would talk to everybody. So I think that's normal.
Yeah.
My sister would be embarrassed, because she was very more reserved. Mm-hmm. But it all worked out. We all grew up, and I just had a great childhood. And my other grandfather Frank, this son of Ferdinand. Now, he married my grandmother, and they lived in Lake Preston, South Dakota. And we'd go there on Sunday. You know how the mothers, we'd bring food. We all sit around the family. I think it's a wonderful way to grow up. Mm-hmm. And I would sit on the floor and cut out paper dolls. For some reason, I liked that. My sister would read and stuff. I'm not a reader. But I think that's why I became a wallpaper hanger, because I like details. And now I still cut out paper dolls, only I'm wallpapering
That's a good
for
point.
people, you know? And they call me Rita Green, the wallpaper queen. So, but okay, and today I just wanted to mention I have a fan. His name is Benjamin Meisner in Germany.
Oh.
And I love that man. And he sends me notes, and he is in charge, editor of the Marilyn Monroe fan club. So he sends me pictures and notes, but he wants me to autograph. He thinks I was in the Indestructible Man, and I wasn't. There was another Rita Green. I wish I could take credit for it, but no, I can't. So I can't. I'm going to send these back to Benjamin, but he'll understand. But I'm going to send him a mess.
That's so nice of him to.
Oh, it's very kind of him, and I do appreciate it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Because I was just wondering, tennis has kind of been my quarantine hobby, and like, do you have any hobbies now that social life isn't really as prominent as it used to be?
My hobby is taking care of what God has blessed me with: my home, my plants, my neighbors. I love my neighbors.
Yes.
Yeah, I love to do mosaic.
Yeah,
I do things like that.
You made that?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
It's starting to fall apart because I didn't use the right glue. Now I've learned you have to use liquid nails, because with the water, that when it rains or anything, but cracks. I'm learning.
Yeah,
I'm learning.
That looks beautiful.
Yeah, I do a lot of pots.
Okay.
There's some pots.
Wow.
That little pot there, that blue and white pot. So I cover pots. So that's sort of a hobby, and there's pots over there.
Those are beautiful. I was admiring those before we started.
Yeah, they're just clay pots, and amazing. It's fun. Keeps you out of trouble, see?
So many
And
fun
I get
things.
all these signs: believe in yourself and love, love.
That's amazing.
So see, and then I put them outside, as you've seen.
Yes.
People walk by, they see all these inspirational things, but that's the only way to go through life for me.
No, it's always fun to walk by your house, and
Thank you.
And that's the thing, you rub off on people. You inspire. I was inspired by the tennis player and by you, and then I go out and try and inspire others.
And you
it's just
are,
a chain
aren't you?
effect.
Yes.
Hopefully.
So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I love everybody, and don't forget.
Oh my goodness.
Rita's world, she said she could, and so she did. Bye. See, world, what we can do? We never stop learning.